My name is Jeannie Tyrell, and you are listening to Brain Drops. The Brain Drops podcast will provide every listener information about the Brain Drops Foundation. In today's episode, I am speaking to an incredibly brilliant fellow creative, and I will let her introduce herself.
Adriana Green, the founder and editor-in-chief of Visio magazine. That's me.
Yes, that is you. Hello. So we're going to talk about your creative crucible.
Yes, crucible is essentially this cauldron, this urn of flames, and it's used for alchemy. And inside you can forge things. You can turn something into something else. A crucible, things you can conjure different realities and fantasies, really. So ideally, the essence of a creative crucible is to allow creative people to forge their visions in these flames, transcend this monotony that we have in creativity, the monotony of mindset, how we view art. And through it, I can get these different voices and different perspectives on things that are already accepted and not otherwise questioned. And I think in order for things that are currently accepted to be questioned and for us to use the Socratic method on stuff, to be like, why is something the way it is? I think we need creative individuals and their thoughts to be streamlined in such a way to be forged so they can then transcend and turn into something bigger than the sum of their part. Ideally, I would hope that all creatives come through this crucible, turn into something bigger. Again, yeah, it's definitely the idea of becoming something bigger than the sum of your part because you are with your tribe. It's multifaceted and it's never ending. And Visio in and of itself is Latin for visions. And I find that Visio is a magazine, but a magazine is also Visio, which I know sounds so pretentious, but well, what else is a magazine but a platform for creativity and voice? And what else is a vision? It's one and the same.
Yeah, I always have a deep respect, and I commend artists and collaborators that work against the current. And what gravitated to me to your magazine, of course, was the imagery that totally just kind of smacks the current in a different direction. So I applaud your work, this platform that you're giving other people. I just love it, and I want to showcase it and share it.
Thank you.
So what do you feel like it has brought you personally so far?
Starting the magazine and being able to wake up and have something to do every day, it brought me this sense of self-mastery that I didn't have before. I'm a very creative person, but I had nowhere to streamline it because I was always so entrenched under the avalanche of other people's opinions, imposter syndrome, mental illness, just all the shit. And I'm just like, okay, neat. And I became Visio, and I was able to connect with people in ways that I wouldn't have confidence to do before. It's kind of like my Sasha Fierce. Beyonce has like an alter ego.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Visio became for me.
I know like it's not a common term from my country, especially being in America, is the whole pull yourself up by your bootstraps. But I feel like the bootstraps have become such a mental warfare. So just be proud of yourself. You're doing really well. You've created a visual think tank.
Thank you. Yeah, you get it. You know what's up.
I only see it growing. So tell me, first of all, pronounce your theme for your latest issue and then tell me about it, because that's the one that's coming out on the 16th.
The ZEITGEIST issue is going to surround, essentially the definition of zeitgeist is the spirit or essence of the times, of generation, the voice of an era. It can be segmented or categorized into decades, centuries, millennia. It's whatever is instilled and is really memorable and top of mind from a time period. And so I've been asked, well, how does it differ from conspiracy theory? And it doesn't really. They are two separate things. The zeitgeist, scripted PR apology videos are analyzed and studied based on consumer behavior and how people respond to emotion. They're scripted for a reason. And the people that we revere and look up to and see as role models pacify us and give us this information because they know that's what we want to hear. And that is kind of a insidious, kind of dark way of looking at how what we think of as what we're demanding and like what we're given as a people to consume, we think we're creating that demand, but it's actually being given to us to want it. It's very insidious. I guess the zeitgeist can be kind of dark and light. There's a dark point to it, how the food pyramid is really just created and constructed by shareholders in the dairy companies to say to drink your milk, when really milk is filled with toxins and all this nonsense, and it gives you, but it's whatever. But the zeitgeist can also be fashion and the Beatles and the Matrix and Lana Del Rey and Van Gogh or The Lord of the Rings, both movie and novel. It's something that a culture and a generation holds on to and sees inside themselves and feels comfortable with to blend into their personality. I don't think people think about that enough, because I find that, again, just to circle back to why Visio was started, I feel like things that already are accepted aren't questioned. And I think to shine a light on specific themes isn't to take control of my contributors and tell them what to write about. It's to say, here's a topic. Tell me your most contentious, controversial, loud, angry thoughts about it. I want to know, how are you going to think differently about it? And it's interesting to see what I get.
Wow. You have a really interesting and powerful little cauldron working up. How do you process all that art and information?
I watch Alex Jones for fun, not because I believe in his stuff. He's this charismatic yeller. He's able to put stuff in your face. It's not palatable, but the urgency is admirable. Now with the Zeitgeist issue, I'm getting some good stuff. I'm just really excited.
You seem to have a certain palate or taste to your magazine. So how do you go about choosing what you put in your magazine?
I don't want what everyone else had, but like, I don't want art with a capital A. I want to take in people's art that have been rejected by galleries. Like, I want to be the home for misfit art and literature. Like, I will take you in, like an orphanage for forgotten art. Yeah.
Can you give us any insight into your next theme? Or
yeah, the next theme is the dreams issue. I thought I would like calm down. My issues have been intense. I started off with what's done in the dark. That was my first issue, and all I got was, I mean, God bless their hearts, but all I got were submissions about bad things that happen in the dark. And I'm like, I don't really want all my poetry to be about stuff you should talk about in therapy, but I'll put it in the magazine anyways. And then my second issue was Idealism and Rust, which sparked from a George Carlin quote, scratch any cynic and underneath you'll find a disappointed idealist, which I thought was absolutely beautiful. And then from there, I started going into more specific one word. So then after Idealism and Rust, I did the psychedelia issue, then the conspiracy issue, then the erotica issue, and now I'm on to the dreams issue. So it's a little toned down. It's going to be more palatable and more forgiving for a wider target market or target of artists and writers. I'm very influenced by older, angry characters in celebrity. So for instance, George Carlin, Louis Black, Doug Stanhope are a few of my favorite comedians, Bill Hicks. Just the ability to, as a woman, have these very dark, strong, male, gritty influences. I feel, why can't I also take that? And so, like, why can't I also be a woman, be dark, be contentious, have an opinion, and kind of intimidate? I don't want my magazine to intimidate, but if it scares people, that's fine. And I'm okay with that, because the right people will stay. And that's what I'm looking. And I think with that true brand loyalty, you can go very far. With the dreams issue, I'm kind of taking a risk, but it's a risk I'm willing to take. And then after the dreams issue is the comedy issue, because I find that, again, stand-up comedy is one of my, it is my favorite form of art, but you can't draw it. You can't, like, it's hard to put in a magazine, because I find that comedians are modern day philosophers. There are modern day Diogenes, Homer's, Hippocrates, Socrates. There are modern day truth sayers. And I really want to represent and showcase comedy as an art form, because it is highly undervalued, underrepresented, and it's so American.
Oh, it's also really taken advantage of, if you look into like Robin Williams, what happened with comedians, a lot of their energy is just taken, and that's kind of a darkness for sure.
Oh yeah, Bobby Lee from Mad TV has demons, and he even admitted, like, I used comedy as a way to not be in pain, but it's an escape. And so it's a beautiful art form. It's a beautiful crutch, but it is a crutch if it keeps you from moving on. And so where do you find the funny? How do you keep the funny? Does recovery lose the funny? I feel like it'll be a very good issue if people can catch on to what I'm trying to give them. Again, but that's not for me. I feel like I do try to control it a bit because I want people to really think. But if they don't get it, I'm excited to see what else can come to the table. And again, Patrice O'Neill, God rest his soul, number one philosopher in comedy. He had his opinions, whatever, but it comes down to him saying, allow people to find the funny. I kind of take that as well, and a greater thing with my magazine. And I say, I'll take your art. I'll allow you to find it. Let's find your audience for you. If it doesn't stick, it doesn't stick, but I can't say no. Who am I to say no?
Yeah, honestly, well, why would you even want to say no? There's so many intense stories out there and intense creativity going on with COVID-19 and with everyone in the state of being quarantined. What would you say is the most intense art you've gotten, or the craziest art you've gotten?
I've had some pretty crazy stuff in my magazine. In the erotica issue, I had this picture of a girl. She was like naked and she had like bread all over her and she had like a dildo and it was just this, and she called it art. And I'm like, fine, if that's art to you, that's fine. I don't know who's going to think it. Let me allow you to find an audience. If it doesn't stick, it doesn't stick.
And how awesome is it that now I feel like we have more freedom to just kind of produce what we want. And I think with your comedy issue, you do have a bit of a challenge, but I know you're up for that challenge. I can tell. So I'm looking forward to it. Very excited.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it is. It's going to be difficult because comedy is it's an intangible visual art form. So art is tangible, but how do you hold on to words, vibrations going from one ear to another? People aren't going to give me their tight workshopped 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm going to submit my next bit to you. So what do I do? And so that's going to be a challenge, and I'm interested. I'm pretty excited.
You got to get through your dreams first.
Yeah. And the dream issue, again, in March, volume 2 begins. And I'm considering taking Visio from being a bi-monthly gig to a monthly one. And that all depends on viewership, audience, interest. But I'm very excited to see where it goes. I also have, again, I think we discussed this in email too, how I'm looking forward to collaborating with artists and writers in the future to creating a visions dream journal kind of situation. Or if people write down, okay, what's my mood for today? Did I take my pills? That, but making it more of like an art tracker, like you feel like drawing today, artist prompts. It allows people to feel more a part of a community. It's going to have interviews. I interviewed 2 people in the local Kingston community. Kingston, Ontario is where I'm located in Canada. And one of them, her name is Kyla Main, and she is a artist who I picked her out of the crowd because she dresses up like a doll. She's very into like Victorian Rococo Lolita fashion. And I'm like, neat. Fashion and art are surrounding the same creative sphere, and they both have the same common denominator of like using them to self-express. And so I thought, okay, neat. There are times like in the 1920s. What do you think about when you think of the 1920s? You think of flapper dresses. That's something that has like weaseled its way into the zeitgeist. Like fashion is very expressive of people because they felt constricted. Women, I mean, not people, women were like, oh, I feel, ooh, let me put things on my dress. And so fashion is definitely a way to take the intangible, make it tangible. And that's why I reached out to her. We talked about, how why Lolita fashion is like not contentious when it comes to fashion, but it does when it comes to the books. That's interesting. And like how she started getting into like her garb. And then I interviewed another guy named Francisco Corbett. He's like a local celebrity in Kingston, like an artist celebrity. And every time I go downtown Kingston, there's a billboard, there's usually a billboard for McDonald's, and has his art on it. And I'm like, how did he get his fucking art up there? Or I go down to a bank and it's just his graffiti. And it's like he just is allowed to do it. He spray paints during the day. He goes around and wheat pastes his brand everywhere. He's so social. He's so good at it. And he, in and of himself, is changing the culture of art for Kingston, the zeitgeist of our own little city here right now. Like, he is doing it. And I'm like, no way. He's perfect for it. He even had this exhibition he did called Kingston Isn't Boring Anymore. I'm like, how fucking influential is that? How part of the zeitgeist is that?
Yeah, it's very zeitgeist. I love it. It's really awesome that you've been able to, talk to other fellow creatives and get your magazine rolling. That's really awesome. So I have a question about your contributors. What do you want to give to them, the people who are subscribing and looking and taking interest in your magazine?
I want my contributors to have a cohesive and a relevant publishing history. And I really want to be that creative platform that allows them to develop their portfolio. Again, I like to take on, not amateurs, because there's people who are a part of my magazines who are absolute professionals. So if I say this, I don't want to say that I take on amateurs. It's not the be all and end all. I want people who are scared to present their art. They don't, like you mentioned, people who think they can only be in a gallery, and if they're not, then they're not an artist. That's not true. And so again, with Visio, you can create your portfolio. It'll be relevant. And it's something that I feel, I don't know how this sounds, but a lot of people have reached out and said, I wrote this piece in like grade 12 and I never thought it would see the light of day, and I was able to give it to you, and now people are reading it, and I'm so excited I finally was able to get it out. And I'm like, that means so fucking much to me. Thank you. Or someone even said to me that she was in an abusive relationship and she felt stifled and she couldn't share her art. And she sent it to Visio for the first time, and just, it was cathartic for her. And she didn't feel like she had a platform because she didn't go to post-secondary. So she didn't have professors cheering her on or artist friends. She was just someone, worked at a pizza shop and liked to draw and didn't think she could fucking share her art. And those are the people I'm going for. The people who don't have those connections that a lot of people take for granted. Those without the MFA, you know what I mean? Who didn't go to like art school for 2 years, who don't have those mentors cheering them on, who don't have the family, who only can afford dollar store paint, you know what I mean? And who don't think that they're artists because they were surrounded by bad people or people they had to take care of or people who were doing drugs, or they didn't see artists around in their life, but they themselves know it.
Yeah, that's very powerful, admirable. I applaud you for what you're doing, and I wish you success, and I hope it just continues to grow. And I thank you for your time today, your time and your energy and all you had to share about Visio magazine. The next issue is called ZEITGEIST, and it comes out on January 16th. Check it out.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Brain Drops podcast. Stay tuned for updates on our foundation, our guest speakers, and some interesting brain drops.